Welcome to the We're Not Blowing Hot Air podcast, powered by Oxygen Plus, featuring amazing athletes and wellness-minded individuals who share how they elevate their everyday lives.
On this episode of We're Not Blowing Hot Air, we dive in with Brennan Hammond, a swimmer from Florida State University, as he shares his journey to the top and how Oxygen Plus fuels him. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to We're Not Blowing Hot Air, episode 5 already. Episode 5 of the brand new season. Welcome, Lauren.
Welcome, Ben. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Ben.
I know.
I don't know what I'm just saying.
We're all welcome on this podcast. I'm super excited. We have a really, really fun guest today. We've got a college swimmer by the name of Brennan Hammond from Florida State University. We connected with him again on Market Price, and I'm really excited for today's podcast because this guy's pretty cool. So welcome, Brennan.
Hello. Thank you guys so much for having me today.
Of course.
It's our pleasure.
It's our pleasure. Yeah, we're super excited to get to know you and learn more about your journey and all the amazing things that you're doing at Florida State. So
Awesome. Well, I look forward to it.
Well, I will get going with the first question that we always like to ask our guests. How do you O+?
I use it for literally everything. I use it in the morning when I get up, quick energy boost before morning practice at 6 a.m. I use it afterwards for the recovery benefits, in between practices, and then right before afternoon practice. Just gives me that extra little boost I need to really get the job done in the pool, and also anything I need to do outside of the pool.
That's fantastic. I mean, you're our first swimmer that we've ever had the pleasure of speaking with on this podcast. And, you know, one of the things that there was a study done in 2018 by Brickman, Block, and Brixis that showed that the physiological benefits of oxygen are most profound in short-term, high-intensity exercise like swimming. Right. So I would love to know, what are your favorite or your best strokes? How do you kind of break it down when you use oxygen with swimming?
So oxygen is the biggest part of swimming. It's all about breath control, maintaining that level of stamina, which has to do with your level of oxygen, how much oxygen you're taking in. And a lot of our training also is done with interval work, which is short rest, high intensity. And that's kind of how we improve ourselves in the mid distance. So I'm primarily a butterflyer, primarily the 200 distance, and that's always the fun one. People always love that one.
Yeah.
But oxygen is huge, and Oxygen Plus, it's a great supplement. We train outside. We've seen all the research. 19% of the air we breathe is oxygen. So having that 100% of pure oxygen to breathe in between and after practice just really helps my endurance, my training sessions, and also my races.
Yeah. So cool. So are you doing it I'm trying to picture this in my head. Are you doing it immediately after or before you dive in or get out of the pool? Or are you doing it after you've kind of wound down, taken that shower, and then you're ready to kind of just, is that how is your recovery with the Oxygen Plus really happen for you on a very microscopic level?
So I've really learned that with recovery, it starts as soon as I get out of the pool. As soon as I'm done warming down, the quicker I can get protein, anything into my body to help my body start that recovery process. So I keep a can of oxygen in the locker room. So first thing I do when I walk in the locker room, take 3 to 5 breaths of that oxygen to try and get that recovery process started.
Oh, cool.
I feel like a great jump start.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Sweet.
I can imagine that obviously swimming is a super demanding sport. I mean, even just for me swimming, some friendly laps, at Lifetime, it's I'm done after 3 laps. So you guys, how long is typically a training session for you guys?
So our morning sessions are usually about 1.5 hours to 2 hours, depending on whether we are in the academic year or outside of the year. So during the summer, we do a 2-hour session in the morning and a 2-hour session in the afternoon, and then weights sometime in between for about 1 hour, hour and a half. And our schedule looks pretty similar during the school year. So we have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 to 7:30 in the morning, and then weights depending on what classes and what time your classes are, sometime in the afternoon for that same hour, hour and a half, and then always a 2-hour session in the afternoon. And Tuesdays and Thursdays were just weights and then afternoon sessions.
Jeez.
Doesn't end.
Keep
Doesn't
it-
end. See why recovery is so important
Oh,
with
yeah,
that
for sure.
grueling schedule.
The little
Yeah.
bits of time we have, we got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you take naps? Like, is that like another form of recovery? Because I feel
Yeah.
like I would just pass out after
It
any
is.
of those.
It is. I like naps, but my problem is whenever I take naps, it's very hard for me to wake up. So usually I'd rather get to bed earlier
Yeah.
at night rather than take an hour nap and wake up 3 hours later.
I remember in college soccer we'd have 3-a-days, and so that first like practice was always like cardio or running or something, and I want to say that was like at 5:30 a.m. or 6 a.m. and so that one was okay, and then we'd go and have breakfast, and then after that like you'd want to go take a nap because I think our next practice was like at 11:30, and it was like that odd moment of like, oh, do I take a nap because then I'm gonna be super tired but maybe energized, but then always after the second practice we'd have a little bit longer before we'd always scrimmage. That was our last practice. And yeah, every time I'd take a nap, and it was so hard to go to that last practice because you're just like, I'm so tired from the first 2 practices. But yeah, it is beneficial. I think it helps kind of being able to mix that in for like recovery. If you can wake up.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh man. So how long have you been swimming then? Like, is that kind of something as a kid you were like, I want to go swim, and do this seriously, or when did that kind of dream start for you?
So my parents always thought it was really important for me and my 3 brothers to learn how to swim at a very young age, just for safety reasons, as everyone should learn how to swim, just to be safer on the water. So I started swim lessons when I was 3 years old, in swim school, just splashing around. And then by the age of 5, my parents signed me up for the summer league. And the summer league is really relaxed. It's a really fun environment. And that was really my first exposure to swimming competition. From then, I joined my club team, which from there I started at the bottom level and then kept with it. Once I was in the water, it was really hard to get me out. So I decided I really like it. It's a place where I find peace and a place where I can really kind of get away from everything else and, just focus on being better. And that really took a turn for me in like during my middle school years, so 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And I decided this is what I really want to do. I love it, love the atmosphere, love the places that it takes me. And I decided to do it full time, starting in 7th grade when I was 13 years old.
Oh, wow. Awesome. And I just would love for you, like, where were you when this was all happening? What state were you in?
Oh, New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay.
Yes, northern Jersey, Morris County.
Okay. All right. Just give a little context there. Awesome. And so did you hate Adult Swim when they announced it's Adult Swim time? Did that like kind of get you? And I hated that. Like
I hated that. Yeah,
I hated adults when I was a kid because of that reason, I think.
Yes. Well, for me, it was always interesting because I was always swimming with older kids, and sometimes the older kids aren't really the best role models and everything, and me being a younger guy with the older guys, you don't really get the respect aspect of it. But I mean, I love training with the older guys.
So wait. So what happened there? What do you mean, the older guys? Like, so Adult Swim time happened and you guys just kept swimming? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so like we'd have like lap swim and stuff like that next to us, but during our practice times, they were pretty structured, and not as crazy as our schedule now. But our team would be practicing on one side of the pool, and the adults and the lap swim people would be swimming on the other side of the pool.
Cool. But you loved it. You couldn't get out of it.
Loved it. Yes, I couldn't.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So knowing what you wanted to do from a young age, how did that align with the other parts of growing up and being a kid? Like how did school kind of meld into that, or your choice in friends, and how did it all kind of come together for you as you are growing up to the point you are now in college?
So growing up, I had a lot of hometown friends, especially at a very young age, because I used to do a lot of sports. And then when I decided to take swimming seriously, it took me away from my hometown. Where I trained was about a 40-minute drive away from my house, and most days I would actually take the train. So it'd be a 20-minute drive to the train, an hour train ride, and then a 10-minute walk from the train station to practice. So I really started to grow close to the people that I was swimming with and on the team with. And it kind of took me away from my high school friends, which at the time I was okay with, and because I had my group of friends that I swam with, and it kind of allowed me to be exposed to a group of people that shared common interests, common goals, were very determined, and I feel like that was a huge benefit for me growing up, especially at a young age. Not making as those mistakes that young kids tend to make. So I really think that was a benefit, and really set me up for who I am now, being committed to a single sport and really trying to achieve that status of excellence from such a young age. Really helped me down the road. It set me up for what I think to be a pretty solid, pretty bright future when I look back at it. It made me realize that in order to achieve goals, you can't be half in, half out. If you want to achieve something, you need to go all in, and you need to be committed to it. And the way that I look at it is that I'll do whatever it takes whenever I have a goal in mind.
Mm-hmm.
I won't just be narrow-minded and look at one option. I'll look at every single option and determine which is the best for me, and just go all in one direction.
Yeah, I think as an athlete that wants to take it seriously, like that is the mindset you have to have. And if you don't have it, like, have fun playing the sport, but like you're just not going to excel. I think like it's a whole mindset thing of, showing up, and maybe you have to go down a different path of like, maybe you don't have that childhood that every other kid had, but looking at it now, looking back, like, you're doing your dream and you're swimming, and you have to give up sacrifices. I think a lot of athletes talk about that. So to go along kind of with those goals, what do you think is the single most thing that you did to kind of like elevate your life to reach this success? Like what was that for you?
For me, I believe that was really goal setting and understanding what it meant to be committed to something. And when I say committed, I mean, loyal to one thing and really finding out exactly what I wanted, and not really steering away from that. Once I knew what I wanted, it became a lot easier for me. Like when you talk about sacrifices in middle school, I missed my 8th grade dance because I was at a swim meet, and at the time it was a big deal, but looking
Right.
back at it now,
Yeah.
not much. But I missed a lot, and I don't regret any of it.
Okay.
But just those life lessons that some people learn at a later age, I was able to establish at a younger age, and I really think that for the rest of my life, they will continue to help me, and they have definitely helped me thus far.
That's great. That's fantastic. Brennan, the next question we love to ask our guests is, what is the single most difficult situation you've had to face in your burgeoning life? What have you really come across that's been like really difficult, and obviously something that you've come through and learned something from? So you can share any angle of that.
Yes.
If you
So
would.
the single most difficult thing for me was my senior year. I was starting to get really serious about looking into the schools I wanted to go to, and I had always dreamed about going to a big Division I school, and I was achieving that goal, and I was talking to this one really big school, and my head coach was obviously very, very involved in my recruiting process, And beginning of senior year, my head coach started to have some health issues, which he also ultimately got hospitalized, and um, not everything necessarily worked out from a recruiting standpoint. And that offer from the big Division I school that I really wanted to go to fell through. And the hardest decision I had to make was whether I wanted to I don't want to say settle in a derogatory way, but settle for a lesser school and kind of go away from what I've wanted since I've really started swimming. And that decision became very, very challenging for me because obviously, all my friends, all my coaches, and people that just know me and know what I do, they seem to look at me a little bit different because my school kind of made it a big deal that I was an athlete, and I set a number of high school records, and not going to that big Division I school I thought would be kind of letting people down.
Mm-hmm.
And I sought out another option, which was going to the junior college, going the junior college route. And that way I would still have that opportunity to go to those big Division I schools like I'd always wanted to. But in return, I would kind of have to take that almost ego hit in high school, showing up to signing day, wearing my school shirt that no one knows what it is, no one's ever heard of it, and kind of explaining to people that no, it's not a Division I, it's not a top 5 like I had wanted. It's a stepping stone. And I knew at that time when my coach was having those issues and everything fell through, that if I really wanted to commit and if I was really serious about everything that I have really ever wanted, that this was the next step for me. And thankfully I took it, and it all worked out really, really well. I went to Indian River State College. It was pretty neat. I was able to be a part of the longest national title win streak in collegiate sports history.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Very neat. I believe now it's up to 48 years in a row the men's team has won national championship. So it's very cool to be a part of that and uphold the legacy.
Yep.
And from then, I was able to put myself in a position where I was ready for that big Division I level again, and everything worked out with Florida State.
I love the vision of you showing up to your school wearing a shirt no one knows and having to talk to people. That is the kind of stuff that will take you far in life.
Yeah.
Going through that and holding your head high during it. That's phenomenal. So well done.
Yeah, well done. A chip on your shoulder. I think that's always I don't know. I think those are the athletes that have an edge because they have, something to prove. And it's not like you weren't good enough to be at a D1 school. It just, your path just took a different turn, but you still ended up there. And yeah, I just think I know, because I played a lot of high school sports too. And so people, especially for hockey players, the JUCO route is pretty common, because it gives them another opportunity to kind of get in the league and then get your foot in the door, unless you're an outstanding hockey player and you have a college just right at your doorstep. But the JUCO route is actually it's
JUCO, junior college.
I
didn't know it was abbreviated like that.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And it's also, if you're not an athlete getting scholarship money or any help, it's just good to do. I had somebody I went to Pepperdine, and somebody was brilliant and came in as a junior.
Yep.
And then they had half the student debt. Hello,
Right.
So education in any form, even if it's hard knock life, we got to keep learning and growing. That's what we think. Didn't mean to cut you off there, Ben.
No.
I just wanted to know what JUCO was for myself.
Yeah. It's like an athlete, I feel like slang.
Oh, is it? Okay.
The JUCO route,
Right.
Yes. And a lot of people talk about junior college and aren't really sure of exactly what it is. But it really is a great opportunity. If I could go back, I wouldn't change a thing.
Awesome.
It really set me up for what I believe to be a career of success in college. The junior colleges tend to be the smaller, quieter schools, which is really good if you're, living on your own for the first time ever. It gives you a chance to be in a really close-knit community, and small class sizes, and really just get adjusted to that college lifestyle without being thrown into a lecture hall with 300 other kids and being just a number out of like 40,000 kids. But I highly recommend to anyone that the junior college process works if as much as you want it to work.
Yeah.
Love that.
And you didn't go to just any junior college. You went to a junior college that has won 48 national championships. So like that definitely must have made you feel good that like, hey, I'm at a place that has a history that can like set me up. So as long as I do good here, like this is going to be a great kind of resume builder for me in any college. And like no college is going to look at that and be like, oh, that doesn't matter. Who cares? It's like, no, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that is awesome. One question we love to ask is if you had to choose one person in your life who's impacted you the most, who would it be?
That would be my head coach of my old club team. I started in their swim school when I was 3 years old. I went through all the steps, went through the program. Along the way, I got to know him at a pretty young age, and he was always really friendly, especially with the little kids, and really upbeat. And as I started to get older, we started to establish a deeper connection and a deeper relationship than just swimming. He'd always keep me on top of my grades in school, ask me how school's going. He didn't only care about what was happening in the pool, and that is something that really kind of stood out to me, because I know a lot of people from other sports, their coaches kind of only care about their performance. So he was somewhat of a father figure away from home. And he taught me a lot of very important life lessons, such as the importance of commitment and making goals and outlining steps and following through on those goals and doing the best that you can to achieve them. And overall, just being a good person. At the bottom of our pool, he had eight different words that were engraved in the bottom of the pool that we literally swim over and stare at for hours a day. And after a while,
are you going to tell us what they were? Do you remember?
I remember accountability, humility, respect, responsibility, and there was a few others that I have to get off the top of my head.
Good ones.
That's awesome.
Yeah, character building ones.
Yes, literally character building. But I'd say that he was probably the most influential person I had in my life away from home.
That's awesome.
I think coaches, I know I've talked about this before on the podcast, but coaches just have this really cool opportunity in like kids' life and college students, and like they're able to be like a mentor for a lot of kids that are going through a whole lot of different things in life, and maybe like their home isn't like, you know, the best place in the world or whatever, and they come to this sport to be able to connect with other kids, and then like that coach can be a light for them in the future. And I think, you know, a lot of coaches are helping kids like go to college or maybe, you know, they're pursuing their sport or whatever. So yeah, it's really cool that you were able to kind of have that mentorship like from a young age all the way, you know, up to your kind of senior year, where you had like a really cool role model that was, you know, cared about you more than just like an athlete, and truly wanted the best for you in life. So yeah, that's really cool.
Takes a village, right?
Yep.
It's all of that.
It does.
You know, another question I'm really dying to hear your answer from, Brennan, is if you could change one thing in our world, what would it be and why? Magic wand. So anything's possible here.
One thing that I would change in the world right now would be the way people go about solving problems. And obviously there's a lot of problems in the world right now, and you know, if people thought about things they said or thought about ways they did things before they actually did them, I feel like, you know, things would be in a very, very different place. And I know for me, it always helps if I'm presented with an issue, take a step back, take a breather, have some time to think about it rather than just reacting right away. Outcome is a lot better. So overall, just the way people go about solving issues or really solving any simple problems they have in their day. I feel like we would all be a lot happier.
Oh yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I think a lot of times like we're so quick to respond. Like if something goes wrong or if someone says something, we're so quick to respond and like we're just gonna say the thing that we want to say, but like we don't think about it, and we don't think about like, well, how can I best approach this conversation or whatever I needs to be done
Exactly.
in order so both sides can like resolve an issue or whatever. But it's
Yeah.
always like the blame game or like your walls go straight up, it's
Yeah. Everyone wants to be happy, so let's just be happy, right?
right. It's simple, right? Just be happy, right?
No
Yeah.
problem, man. Yeah. And it's also like, I mean, how much of our brain are we using? Is it the left brain, the right brain in solving problems? Is it the other than conscious part of your brain that you're using to understand? Or is it just like the neurons of the heart, right?
Yeah.
Like how we like come to a solution. Yeah, it's really interesting, right? Like, I mean, how we these days, our brain is more powerful than the most powerful computer.
Yeah.
And so how are we actually using it?
Yeah. I don't know.
Something to
Every
food for
aspect
thought.
of it.
It's one of those
Every aspect.
things you don't think about. Yeah. How incredible the brain is and just it's crazy. Like it's absolutely crazy. So yeah, that's a good thing to solve for sure. I think we could use a lot of that happiness and just calmness in this world because it's nuts.
Maybe we think less and then just like
Mm-hmm.
enjoy and love more. I mean, that might be
Right.
just a solution.
Right.
I don't know what the problems are, but there's so many analytical ways. I think lately I'm more leaning into the ones that are like less analytical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the more you overthink things, it's like it just you go in this loop and then it's spiral, and it's just like, okay, just breathe, relax.
Breathing is
Exactly.
so powerful.
It is.
Use a bit of Oxygen Plus and relax. And
Thanks for the plug.
Yeah.
No, but it is absolutely true. And it like resets your whole system in the middle of the day, in the middle of a stressful moment. You just, if you access your breath with or without pure oxygen on hand, it can totally change everything about how you're feeling, what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Breathing is critical. Knowing how to do it well is critical. Letting it go to the alveoli in the lungs all the way down, like that. Can you just, for our listeners, anything else about breathing you can take us out on before you share how they can learn more about you and follow you on social media?
Breathing for me is something that I've really focused on. My old coach actually used to have us do yoga as a supplement for our swimming. And our yoga instructor taught us a bunch of different breathing techniques. And in the beginning, we were 13, 14, 15-year-old kids. So we were we were like, oh, we don't need this. This doesn't work. We breathe normally. That's fine. But no, breathing actually makes a huge difference in the way we function, in the way our mind works, in the way and just how we deal and manage with daily stresses and just overall like thinking ability. It's huge.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you, Brennan. Well, would you share how we can follow you and stay abreast of all that you're doing? Is that
yeah, I think
nice
that's
fun
yeah,
for
that's
it's a breaststroke. Anyone get that?
Breaststroke.
Very
good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at BRENNAN_Hammond, and it's HAMMOND. That is my primary source of social media. But that's where you can find me, find out what I'm doing, and all that stuff.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, good. Any fun meets or anything coming up that we can look forward to hearing and seeing anything about?
Yes. Tomorrow, actually, I leave down going to Gator territory in Gainesville. So gonna keep my head on the swivel. We got a pretty big meet coming up. We've been training all summer for it.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we put in some good work. I'm really excited. And after that, collegiate season starts back up again. Short course yards, we love it, and it's time to start getting back into it.
Oh man, that sounds exciting. I was gonna ask you one question that I was like thinking of as you were talking. Have you ever jumped off the high dive thing. Like I've seen the videos on TikTok where the divers walk to the edge, and I like it just makes my stomach sick. So do you guys ever just go and jump off it just for fun? Like, is that something swimmers do?
Yes. Our
Oh.
coach isn't necessarily thrilled when we do it because we can jump off a starting block that's 2 feet tall. That's about it. That's
Yeah.
But yes, I have gone off the highest one, the 10 meter platform, and man, that is scary. If you're ever trying to wake up in the morning, you just jump off the 10 meter.
I will not do that.
I've done that. I don't know, Ben, what your problem is.
The highest one?
Yeah, I used to swim, Brennan. I didn't want to make this podcast all about me, but I was when I was a kid, I swam and dove, and for sure, of course, when you're a kid, you're fearless, and then if you keep it up, right, like
I'd
never. I
want you to jump
no,
off something. The highest thing.
I've done like cliff jumping, right? But like that's like no, those the highest like at the Olympics, those I'm just like, no way. You could not never. Nope.
Yes.
I think it's gonna happen in your life now that you said never. That's a dangerous word.
Yeah, it is.
What was that, Brennan?
Yeah, you have to do it.
Now you have to do it. All right, we're gonna report back to you. We can't wait to keep just in touch and know how you're moving and grooving here. We know great things are gonna happen for you, Brennan, in your life. So
yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We really enjoyed having you on here and learning more about you and just what inspires you. So
you inspire me, Ben.
Oh, that's great. You inspire me. Everyone inspires, you know?
Yeah, it's all around, Brennan.
Exactly.
Well,
thanks for sharing your life and light.
Yes.
It's
I
awesome.
really appreciate you guys having me today. It was really fun to get on and chat a little bit.
Hey, thanks for listening to We're Not Blowing Hot Air, hosted by Lauren Karlstrom and me, Ben Johnson. Today's episode was produced by Heidi Norman and was edited and engineered by Scott Deming. Do us a solid and share, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you podcast. And follow Oxygen Plus on all social media platforms for the latest and greatest happenings at O+.